So, hello everyone. It's probably evening, morning, and afternoon for different people. So, I'd love to introduce Anne Maxwell, who's the guest of this hangout. Anne is a child and play therapist and an access consciousness facilitator. She's known as the Play Lady by many of the children with whom she works, or the Kid Whisperer, right? So, she facilitates access consciousness worldwide. She's the executive director. We are very, very fortunate and very lucky, and we're very grateful of the Access Possibility School. And in addition, with Gary Douglas and Dr. Here, co-creators of Access Consciousness, she co-authored an international best-selling book, which always makes me cry. Would you teach a fish to climb a tree? So if you haven't read it yet, it's a brilliant book, and it's really
I actually have it right here.
There you go.
Amazing book, life-changing book.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
I gave it to my daughter's teacher.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, I think she's. I know she's kind of interested, and I already told her to experiment with just a few questions in class. So slowly but surely, I'm getting some access in the school while they don't even know it. Because
infiltrating, right?
Yes.
Permeating.
What'd you say?
Permeating.
Yeah. Yes. It's like,
yes. So she travels and facilitates all over the world, and she teaches people to tap into and recognize their own abilities and knowing. And the results have been magical, phenomenal, and amazing, which we have seen in the school too. Pretty fabulous. So, with no further ado, Anne, we have some questions for you.
Okay, cool.
So, why is play so important?
So, hi everybody.
Hi. I was like, I have a question before that.
Yeah, go.
Well, what is, like, when you say play, what does that even mean?
What is play? That's a great question.
Play?
So, Gary Douglas talks about the energy of play is the identical energy to the energy of creation. It's that, and so it's many things. Play is a way that kids communicate, right? Like kids, toddlers, babies don't come into the world with verbal capacity. And so in addition to communicating telepathically, they communicate with people as sort of a precursor to the verbal communication in their play. And play is really instrumental to cognitive development, physical development, emotional development, psychological development, like all those different kinds of development. It's a lot easier on kids who are able to play and able to develop with that kind of lightness and that kind of ease. So I was trained by lots of amazing people, and so what the science will tell you, or what the play therapists, the child development experts, the psychiatrists, that Piaget, for example, has levels of play, and the first one is it's called solo play, right? It's solitary. So you see kids not playing with each other, and a lot of times what they'll do is they'll play next to each other, right? And they'll each have their own little set of toys, and they don't communicate, they don't like play together. It's not like that, right? And then the next level of play is and I guess that's called parallel play. So initially the play would be when they're in the baby carriage and they're playing with whatever it is that's on top of them, or somebody like does that. That's the solitary play. And then parallel play is when they're next to each other. And then later on, play becomes a little bit more complicated, and you can do it in the form of games, physical activities, board games, like that kind of stuff. So that's what the scientists all say about play. But get how heavy and dense that is. Like, there is so much more to play than that. And so what if play really is the energy of creation? So do we do the clearing statement on these things?
I would just go with what you know. Like,
So,
Yeah.
Sure.
okay, so I'm going to run a clearing statement. And for those of you watching this in the future who don't know what it is, I will tap back into that in a second. So everything that just brought up times a godzillion, and all the points of view that you have about what play is and what it isn't, will you destroy and create every single one?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So for those of you who have never heard the clearing statement before, if you go to www.theclearingstatement.com, there's a brilliant explanation of it. The short explanation of it is when you ask a question that is an open-ended question for which there's not an answer that you know ahead of time, because that's actually not a question. But if you ask a question, what it does, there's an energy that comes up. And what the clearing statement does is it eradicates. It's like the vacuum cleaner, like the cosmic vacuum cleaner, and it just sucks up all that energy, whatever it is that keeps you from knowing what it is that you actually do know. So the question that I asked had to do with play and your points of view about what play were. So.
and you guys, if you find yourself muted and you want to ask a question, please, it's in your left-hand corner. You can unmute yourself. I tend to mute everybody just so that it keeps down the background noise.
Cool. So everywhere you've defined play as something that it isn't, and everywhere you've defined what play isn't, that it actually is, we just trying to create it. Right and wrong.
Yes.
Black, all night, shorts, boys beyond. So so what's the energy of creation? Let's talk a little bit about that. What is that? Like when you're creating something, and do you have a sense of time and space?
No.
Do you eat or
No.
sleep? Right? And you watch little kids when they're playing. You know how you can tell with kids when they're totally into something? It's like, it's the breathing. Right? The little ones, the bellies go up and down, right? You can't see my belly, but it goes, right? When you do that as an adult, what if that's actually the energy of play, right? When you're creating stuff that's really fun, or when you have no points of view about the way something should show up, you're just being playful. You're doing it because it's fun, because it feels good to your body, because it expands your world, whether it's goofing around with a checkout guy or rolling in the grass with a dog or whatever.
Playing a clown.
Drop all your points of view about the appropriate way to behave and the appropriate thing to say and the appropriate way to act. Right? It's an energy. Play is an energy.
So, what? I'm like, what? Where do we give up play? Like, what is that?
Great question. So, at what age did you actually give up play? How old were you?
Young.
What is that? Just shout it out.
Got something like 20.
20? Wow,
Yeah.
you hung on to it for a long time, honey. That's
Wow.
awesome. How old?
4.
4? Yeah, that's a lot more normal.
I don't think you gave it up.
What's over there? Hi, sweetie. So, and for what reason did you give up play? And everything that just brought up, wow, times
Yeah.
again, we're just trying to create it.
Yeah.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So for what reason did you give up play? Or let me ask another question. What did play mean in your family? How was kids playing received? How were kids received and viewed? Were you too much?
Yeah.
Were you too loud?
Yeah.
Were you disruptive? Were you inappropriate? Were you one of those kids should be seen and not heard?
Well, something that was always said in my house when I was playing too much was my stepfather would say to me, use your time wisely.
So, right.
How much more wisely can you be?
Playing is not using your time wisely. Oh my God, Simone. So everywhere you not allowed yourself to play because it's not a wise use of your time, will you destroy and uncreate that? Right, and I'm good and bad, pod, poc, all night shorts, boys. Because that's the line of thinking that goes along where schools are cutting back more and more and more on the amount of recess time and free play and outdoor time, right? Like that, because it's a waste of time. So everywhere play became a waste of time in your universe, and you took that on as real and true. Well, you just trying to create it.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad. Shorts, boys and yours. Oh
What I
my
always
God.
saw my mom do is when we would ask if she'd play with us, like a board game or something else, or cards or whatever, she would do that for like, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes or something. So I guess I perceived it as it being a chore.
Right.
What you do, like, she did. Okay, so yes, I'm going to play with you for like 15 minutes with the idea of, okay, I'm giving you attention and I'm doing this because you need it, but that's all. I
So
guess that's what I perceived, that it wasn't fun, but it was something you're supposed to do. And I'm looking at me going, oh shit, I'm doing the same thing here with my kids.
That's so interesting to me
I'm doing my mom.
because when you said that thing about creation and play, I was like, ooh, like I have a lot of gunk around creation and creating, and it's like that what you were just talking about is what I think about with creating and creation. It's like, oh, how long do I have to do this, and like, what do you need from me? But play to me is like this whimsical, fun, like fantasy land where like there's fairies, and that's a whole different thing to me. And I was like, oh, like how are those, in what universe are those the same
together?
Right, exactly.
But now I'm like, oh, I get it. Like that I get what you were talking about.
Right. So Suzanne,
Yeah.
everywhere it was impelled onto you that play was a chore and something that your mom did because it was her job. And in order to be a good parent, she had to play with you, even though she'd rather be washing freaking windows or something else. Well, you just try to create all that. Where you took that and it's real and true. Right, wrong, good and bad, fun, fuck, all night shorts, was real. So, Truth, was your mom allowed to play as a child?
No, she didn't even know how to play or what to play. She was the oldest in the family of 6, so I don't think she ever played.
Right.
I mean, she was so young when she already had to take care of her younger brothers and sister.
So
Very young age.
Can you pat your mom on the back for making an effort to play when she knew
Yes.
absolutely nothing about it, even if it was woefully inadequate, even if it came from a wonky energy? Would you at least give her the credit that she put it out and she did the best she could?
It touches me now. It touches my heart thinking, oh my goodness, she had no idea.
No.
And that's really sad, actually. It moves me. Yeah.
So everything that's bringing up times a godzillion, and everywhere you're making yourself responsible for your mom's inability or inability to play.
Incapability, yeah.
Good and bad, pod, poc, all night, shorts, boys and girls. Yeah. And Adele, the thing about creation and play. So play was good for you, but creation has all the junk. Yeah. So in your family, were you ever allowed to create anything that was outside whatever the norm was?
I don't think so. I mean,
is your family a creative family? Like, would they describe themselves as creative?
I would say that my mom is.
So what's the energy of creation? So, okay. So, what's the energy of creation?
I go kind of blank.
Right. So everything that just brought up.
Yeah.
And all the points of view that you took in as real and true that aren't actually yours and have nothing to do with you about what creation is and isn't. Well, you're just trying to create every single one. Right and wrong, good, bad, pod and poc, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds. When you create from not knowing the answer, from following the energy like kids do. I mean, remember toddlers? they go from here to here to here to here to here to here. They just follow the energy. And every time it's like, oh, look at this, and oh, look at that, right? When you create from that energy, you create, you choose things that open up doors that where possibilities that didn't exist before are suddenly there, right? And get that energy. And then there's another form of creation that's actually not, which is creation based on judgment. This is the right way to do it. This is the not wrong way to do it. So this is one of I have so many stories. So I'm going to tell you guys one story. So this mom came in with her husband and 5-year-old son, who's just a pistol. He would have been great at Access Possibility School, right? And she said, I need some help. He's behaving bad. Maybe he was in his first grade, 6 years old. He's behaving badly, and he keeps on getting bad notes from the teacher sent home. And I said, what's up? And she said, well, he never follows directions. He doesn't know how to follow directions. And I said, can you give me an example? And so she pulls out from her briefcase a picture of a tree that he's designed as a tree house with people inside, and one of them is him. Aww. And she says, look at that. And I said, oh my God, it's awesome. Did he actually draw that? And she goes, yes. And you know what the teacher told him to do? She said the teacher told him to draw a house and a tree and a person. And look what he did. And I'm like, oh my God. Right? So everywhere, somehow, your creative juices were squashed by the rules followers, that if you drew a flower, it had to look exactly like what the teacher drew, and no more, no less. Well, you're just trying to create all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And again, what if they're doing the best they can with the information and tools that are available to them? It's like, it's not, right?
I can't tell you how many times as a teacher I hear stories like that where it's like, the teacher asked for something very specific, like asked for something actually not very specific, but with something specific in mind.
Yes, that's
and then the kids really, like, out-created it, right? Like, that's brilliant.
It was stunning. I wish I could have had it. I would have framed it, right?
That just drives me nuts.
Right.
So I think Safia has a question, Anne.
Yeah.
Hi, Anne.
Hi.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Yeah.
Just want to say thank you and grateful for the book. I am reading it and then I have to stop and then, and the tools, because I'm being a teacher, I'm going to schools and working with the kids. It just opens so many avenues. Yeah. When I think Susanna was talking and I felt this sudden sadness, I thought, well, was it mine or not? But it is mine. And we were talking about play and that brings up a lot of stuff, because coming from a very traditional Asian family, and whatever I chose to be as a young person, I ended up being the mother role in my family, being the mom. Instead of my mom being the mom. Does that make sense?
It totally
so
does.
Yeah. So I didn't play. And we had a shop, and I was running the shop from the age of 6, and do you know what I mean? I worked, and funny enough, I've gone into teaching, and I was thinking about it, why I went into it. I went into it because I found out I was dyslexic when I was in my degree, and I wanted to make a change to my life and other kids' lives and my daughter's. But then I thought it was like the more and more I think about it, and the tools getting into Access. I use the tools, and I was sort of using tools, but not to that extent. But it's just like I get to play,
right?
So I'm playing now, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Yeah. So, how many of you? It's almost like the limitations and the points of view and the judgments come from families, and a lot of families are really susceptible to the dictates of their culture.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what's true in an Asian country isn't necessarily true, for example, in Sweden.
Yeah.
Right? So everywhere, can we do like a sort of a massive cultural clearing?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Everywhere you bought as real and true, whatever the dictates of your culture are or were,
Yeah.
about what's appropriate behavior and what's not.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Wow.
We're going to create all of that.
Yes.
Right,
Oh my God, that's making my head spin.
Yes. So at what age were you told that you couldn't play anymore, or were you ever allowed to play?
I think I did at school, but I was always looking over my shoulder. I remember that. And I know when you were talking about friends, we weren't allowed friends because we weren't allowed to have friends back. We weren't allowed to have, even though I was brought up in this country in the UK, white friends. Yeah. I used to have friends in secret. I used to have a secret double life. If that makes sense.
You
I
would be the
know.
only
I
one.
lived 2 lives. I did. Yeah. It's one of the reasons I left home. Yeah, made the choice to leave. And yeah, but yeah, I lived 2 lives. But I am aware that from the age of 9, because when I went to see one of Dane's classes last year in the ESB, and that came up, and then the awareness has come up again. At the age of 9, I was taken back to Pakistan to get married. So I think a lot of it stopped there. And plus, I always looked older than my age and expected more of me and things. Yeah, so I've never, I was just mum. I was just mum to my brothers and sisters.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you play now?
Yeah, I do. I play with the kids like today, and I play with the tools with the kids because I do supply work because I'm getting into access and do my access stuff. Classes, not stuff. I don't want to call it stuff. And I get to go because I was at a special needs school for 2 years, and I sort of worked there and then used the tools there, which was great. And then things happened. But anyway, so I go to different schools and I get called back because they know that I go and teach and I go and play and I get to play and have fun with it, and the kids love it.
Right.
It is. Yeah, so, and the best part is having the tools to play with. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally.
Yeah, and I'm giving them toolkits without them, like Susanna was saying earlier, she gave the teacher the book.
Right.
Yeah, and I have been asked from staff to put classes together because they've seen me, obviously, with the kids and the behaviour and how I'm working energetically. So, yeah, that's something but that's why I wanted to listen to you today, was like how to bring in the play part of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, Truth, is that actually your question, or are you actually being that? Are you already that?
Yeah. I'm going to acknowledge that now.
Yeah. No. And
Wow.
The thing about this, you guys, is that if you can perceive an energy, if you have a sense of something, you're it.
Yeah.
You cannot have something, you can't receive something that you aren't already.
Wow. Yeah.
So if you tap into an energy that you would like, or a way of being that you would like, what if you already are it?
Wow. I think we should forget that. I think we have to try, because I think with me, because I've got all the access books sitting there that embed with me, your book goes with me whenever I have 5 minutes, I'll read and I'll read a bit again. I think, right, okay, wow, okay, if that makes sense. And I was just, before I was going on, I was just thinking to myself, I was like, I should be reading these to get more. And I thought, no, you know what I mean? It's like you just said, I'm being it, and then obviously being on the calls, that creates more awareness for me. Does that make
so Truth?
Wow, yeah.
Is it actually true that in order for you to get something or to have something, that you have to work hard for it, that you have to work at it?
Sure.
I mean, one of the things about play is that you have it instantly.
Yeah.
Right? They don't turn around and go, oh, well, I have to think about blah, blah, blah. No, it's like, bam, there they are.
Yeah. So,
my friend Steve has a son who was 4 at the time. He actually still is 4. And they went to the aquarium, and Steve forgot his wallet. And some of you have heard this story, but it's totally worth mentioning. And this little guy he's an amazing being, like just a creator of, he's an amazing little boy. And he said to his dad, Daddy, I want to get a toy. And Steve said, oh my God, I had the tickets in the car, but I left my wallet at home. So Steve came up with a plan about how he could find money. And he said, all right, Pierce, I'm going to look really carefully and I'm going to find somebody that we know. And then when I find them, I'll borrow some money for them and then I'll pay them back. And Pierce, little guy, goes, okay. And he goes, Daddy, I want to go over here. And it was an elevator. And Steve's like, all right. And so they get on the elevator and he punches, the little guy says 3. And so Steve lifts him up and he punches 3. And they go up to the 3rd floor and they open the elevator door and there's $10 bill on the floor, right?
Yeah. I think that's in your book, yeah.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
Like it's like that. So everywhere you've made your life harder than that, you'd be the only one. We just try to create it.
Yeah. I think that's biomimicry, because I was talking to my daughter about this. It's biomimicry from my parents, because we worked hard and we were sending all the money back to his parents and his family abroad, and no matter how hard we worked, with school and that, it was just hard work. Does that make sense?
Right.
It was hard work. And me and my daughter were just saying that because she is amazing. She's a humanoid and she's I've nurtured that playing here, if that makes sense. I made sure I was aware that I didn't want her to have the same upbringing as I did.
Right.
Grateful for that. She is doing the hard work, and that is biomimicry from myself. And we talked about that, really. So, that's great awareness, something that I can work with her with that.
All right. So how many of you have the point of view that in order to learn how to play now, it's going to be a lot of hard work? You're going to have to work at it and set aside time. Put a lot of effort in.
Oh, gosh.
Everything.
Yeah. Wow.
Trying to create it. Right. Or I'm getting have you ever watched Dane when he walks into a room?
Say again, sorry.
Dane, when he walks into a room?
Yes.
He's like, hi!
Yeah.
Like, that's really hard.
Hey, Anne, I have a question about, I had 2 observations lately. There was this little girl who's the niece of a friend of mine, and I watched the family play with her. And I was thinking, if I had to play like that with this kid all day long, it's like if I were the mother, I would kill myself.
Was it actually play?
Well, that's my question, because I saw this man and his little son on the plane, and he was asking his son, like, what noise does this animal make, or what does that make? And they had this joy and this play, and he's like, I could do that.
Yeah, right. So everywhere the energy of play, everywhere you've misidentified and misapplied play as force, the energy of play is the energy of force. We just trying to create that. Right, wrong, good, bad, punk, all nine shorts, boys, man. So I was in Home Depot a couple of years ago, and there was the cutest guy, like handsome dude, with his, I don't know, 1.5 baby boy sitting in the thing, and they're walking up and down the tool aisles, and the baby goes, ha, because it was echoey, and the dad goes, ha. And that's how they went up and down the aisle, right? Just hanging out. Saturday morning, boys' time, right? Ha! 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 It was awesome. What if it's no harder than that, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going back and forth, going, play with the access tools, and I see myself do this a lot. Taking the tools too seriously, taking the questions that I want to ask very seriously, especially when I'm in something that I seem to not get out of, like stuck or something, and then I'm like, oh, I need a good question to get out of this. And I'm really.
So do you want a question?
Well, and it's the same with play and having fun doing my work, for example, getting my business to start running, basically.
Right.
And it's kind of, it feels like everything is coming together. The play, doing the access tools, seriously. So I guess I'll play seriously. I don't know. It feels like everything comes again. I'm like, um, that's not right. It's not supposed to be that way. How do I get everything untangled? Do you know? Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
I do. So I have a
tried
question
it.
for you.
Put it into words what I see. It's kind of like everything is entangled, and I want to have more fun. Doing my work, and like today, a lot of times I'm putting something on Facebook, going, "Oh yeah, I'm having," so just kind of pops into my mind, going, "Oh yeah, let's put on Facebook that I'm having this intro bars class on February 20th," and as soon as I start doing it, I need to put some text down and everything, and somewhere along the way something happens that makes it all serious, or that it's got to be right, or it's got to be funny, or it's got to be there's something going on, and I'm like, crap, I still haven't figured out where it's going to the serious, instead of just putting it out there, whatever.
So
More, how can I play more with that?
can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
Who are you being?
My mom.
Everything that is times a gazillion, we trying to create it?
Yes, please.
Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine shorts, boys
Oh,
and men.
all of that. Yes, she's very worried that I am not going to be able to support myself with my own business.
And so are you a good daughter, and are you giving her everything that...
Not anymore. But I guess enough still.
Right? There's so much in there, but there's so much about how there's work and then there's play. Everywhere you've created a separation between work and play, you're just trying to create it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POD, POC, online choice. But Adele and Simone know this about me, but I go pretty much 24/7, right? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I ask my body when it would like to rest or to sleep. And, it tells me, and I do. And it wasn't until, I don't know when I stepped into it's almost like acknowledging that I love my life. I love doing what I do. And so people say, oh my God, you work a lot. But people who know me don't say that. I play a lot. We have so much fun. I mean, we totally do, right? Like all the stuff that could be so serious and so heavy everything changes when it becomes fun, and we don't have, like, that's back to what is play. There's no projected outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the newsletters that got created was when one of the newsletter articles was I was on Skype with Sylvia, and Adele was over at her house, and she stuck her head in the screen and she dropped like a bomb in my world and walked off, right? And I'm like, wait a minute, get back here. And in 3.5 minutes, we wrote an article for the newsletter. Did I plan on that? No, right? Simone does the same thing. Oh my God, this really cool thing just happened. I'm gonna like get it down. It's like awesome. What if that's the energy? So here's okay. Big thing about play. I love you guys. This is so cool. So what if when you play, it never shows up the way you think it's going to? Ever.
That's true.
So everywhere you've stuck your creations with a point of view that they have to look a certain way, otherwise you're a failure and they're not going to work. Would you be willing to let that go?
Yeah.
Yes.
When I create it, right, wrong, good and bad, POD, POC, all nine shorts, boys, beyonds. Because here's the deal. When you ask for something, you'll get it. Ask and you shall receive, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
In the Bible, Gary and Dane talk about it, like all of us. So how many of you do not have the experience of asking for something and having it show up? Right? It totally shows up.
just sometimes it lasts so long that I'm thinking, will they ever show up? Or I'm actually expecting it. I'm starting to expect it to show up right then and there when I ask it.
So that's a sure way to kill it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So Jane was talking, and this is
I
again.
know. Somehow I just keep doing it.
Ask me about the energy of play, and I keep thinking the kids that come to mind are the 2 and 3-year-olds, right? That have no point of view. They'll play with something until it's not fun anymore, and they move on to the next thing. And they're the ones that can turn an organized playroom into what looks like a disaster in a matter of a heartbeat, because they go through, they dump, they pull, they do this, right? When in fact, what if they're actually creating and playing, and they have no point of view about what it has to look like. When it stops being fun, they move on, right? And so this thing that Dane talked about in a class recently was this idea of the ocean with the swell and the trough, right? And one of the things that I was taught as a student is that when you create a project, or when you work on something, there's this sort of linearity to it. You start down here, and then it's a success when you get up here, and there's this straight line on the graph, right, on the piece of paper. And it's not like that. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And so what I found with my projects and my creations is I'll ask the universe, and I'll get all these ideas, and all this stuff comes together, and then all of a sudden it's like it disappears. Now, instead of saying, oh my God, it's not working because it isn't showing up, because that'll kill it, what I ask instead is there anything that you require of me? Because what it's done is it's taken on a separate identity from me. You know, for a while we were sort of enmeshed, but then, you know, when it launches, it launches, it's its own deal. And then you get to ask, okay, if you need anything, let me know.
Well, and I find too, like if I'm not creating enough, that's when I overanalyze and I, pull up the plants to see if they're growing.
Right. That's a great analogy. Oops, are you growing? Yeah. So
I guess I'm doing that a lot.
Yeah. So the energy of play is the lightness of play. So how many of you view your jobs as the adults in your children's lives, whether they're your kids in class or your birth kids or both, as you're the boss and they're the kids? Like you're in charge, and it's your job to make sure they learn certain things and they do things a certain way and they reach certain milestones and have certain results and like that. How many of you like truth? Come on, you guys.
No, I've stopped doing that.
Not so much. I can't say I'm not doing it at all. Yes, I am, because I like after some time, when I get a lot of things on my plate and I get a little bit stressed, then I see myself trying to get control, and then I'm going to tell them what to do.
Right.
And otherwise, if just kind of everything just kind of moves on and flow and whatever, I just leave them doing whatever they do, and then every once in a while I'm going, okay, all right.
So when you play,
I don't tell them.
do you ever let your kids be in charge and tell you what to do? And do you ever do it?
Yeah. Not so much, but yes, yeah.
So one of the things that I used to love in the therapy sessions that I did with kids that were out of control, or their parents were upset because they weren't listening or whatever, is that I would say to the parents, this is the rule in my play therapy room. In here, I would say this to the kid, in here, you're the boss. When you step out of this room, whatever you've got going on with your parents holds, but in here, you're the boss. And I would say that to the parents, right? If your child invites you into play, you got to get that they're the boss. And if that doesn't work for you, then you probably better not come in, right? And so the parents that would come in so what the kids would do, for example, they'd set up a board game, right? And they'd come up with these complicated rules, and the three of us would play according to these complicated rules. And then the kids would break every single rule they set, and they'd kick pieces off the board, and they cheat, like according to the parents, they cheat, and they do all this stuff. And I would say to the parents, so what's it like when somebody tells you what to do and then yells at you for doing it, right? Because the kids would say, you have to do this. And the parents and I would dutifully do it. And they go, no, it's wrong. Right?
Oh my goodness.
It's just, I mean, play is such a great form of communication. If you can get over yourself and over the fact that you think that you shouldn't be talked to that way, you can really learn a lot about what it's like in their world, you know?
True.
Yeah.
I'm thinking too about like how many points of view I have about play now. Like I'm starting to realize like the kids in the school love doing what I would consider really straightforward, boring math, but they love it, right? So for them it is play. It's so much fun. And it's like, right? So like that's where it's like if I could just get over my own point of view of like what fun is and how it should look, right? They're playing and they're having fun with just doing straightforward math question after math question and they love it.
Yeah.
All right, here you go.
So Adele, is there an element in their play of like mastery, and does it make them feel really good about themselves in a way that they haven't felt good about themselves before?
Yeah.
Like in school, like isn't that one of the other elements of play? It's like, yes.
So one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is like because I've done a lot of preschool teaching, right? And preschool is all about like play and socialization. And there are parents, especially in San Francisco, where kids are like auditioning for kindergarten, right? So parents are already worked up by the time their kid is 4 about like, is my kid going to get into a school? And so they want their kids to be learning their ABCs and their 1, 2, 3s and math at the age of 4. So what would you say to a parent that's already worked up about academics when their kid is like, I just want to play?
What I do with parents is I give them the information and what the science is saying now and what I say is if you let your kids play more, they will thrive and they will be more competent, brighter, better able to cope. If you drill in them that they have to act older than they are, and if you take play away from them, it's going to limit them. It's going to handicap them, and it's going to make it harder for them. And I have examples of it like that, and then I just leave it with them. It's like they're the parents. It's their choice. And what if there's nothing wrong about the choice? I just give them information so that they can make maybe a more informed choice, but it doesn't mean that they're going to choose more play, right? Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that dynamic? Sorry.
Go ahead. The dynamic of...
well, just what you were saying, like how play contributes to thriving and kind of like a little bit more in depth about that, about the information.
So kids who play have more energy, they're more creative, they have fewer judgments about themselves and the way things have to be. For kids with that are in the book, the ADD, ADHD, OCD, autistic spectrum, it's really crucial for them to be able to just be who they are. And when kids play, they are being who they are. When you make a kindergartner sit down and do 2 hours of homework every night, you're making them be somebody that they're not. I mean, developmentally, that's tough on them.
It was really ironic. I was on Facebook today and I saw this amazing article about play in Sweden and how they put a lot of funding into the arts and just play, right? Yeah. And I mean, they're the ones that, Spotify came out of Sweden. Some of the best lyric writers for music come out of Sweden. I mean, ABBA, for instance, but so when, and even in Texas, they've noticed that having more play at recess, like having extra breaks, the kids are doing more. They're happier.
Right. they're way happier. Kids need to move. Like this whole thing about sitting still is something that permeates adulthood on this planet, but it's not part of a kid's life. Like sitting still is not anything that they're good at, that they ever want to be good at, or what, that they can learn how to do if they have to. But they need to move. And you can Google almost anything. You could look, I'm sure you could Google benefits of play on child development and come up with some studies that have been done. There are more and more and more studies now, even in the last year. When I was writing the book, I found studies that showed that kids with ADD and ADHD did better when they had time every day outside in grassy areas, right? And the University of Chicago did some kind of study that had a control group and a study group or a whatever group and like that. So there's all kinds of stuff out there. There are all these points of view about what's right and what's not right. And you just really have to follow the energy. The thing about play is that one of the things that I love about this hangout is the possibility of dispelling some of the myths about how there's work and there's your life. And then if you have time for it, you can play. What if you could make your life the play of living? Like what, right? Like what kind of life would you have? Because when you play, when you create like that from no judgment, from the joy of it, from following the energy, what you create is magic. And it's like, and if you want to find out how to play, go hang out with a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old. Right?
Well, that was my question, because my son is 8 years old now, and he didn't want to go to third grade. So here in Holland, we have first and second grade, which is the same as kindergarten. So kindergarten is still play, and they kind of play learn. He was not interested in letters or anything like that, but he was good enough, whatever that's, for whatever that's worth, to go to third grade. And as soon as you go to third grade here in Holland, a lot of play is over, and that's what they say. Actually, you have to work.
Right.
He's now in 5th grade, and every once in a while I'm having trouble getting him to school because he doesn't like school, and he can't or doesn't dare to tell me why he doesn't like school. But what I hear him say all the time, I don't want to work, I just want to play. I just want to play. He just want to play. And I said, well, what about if you would look at math as playing with numbers, and if you would look at whatever reading and whatever has everything that has to do with language and spelling and stuff, what if you look at it as playing with letters? But it's so much from the school that they have tasks, he's got a list that he has to do, and it's work, and that's what they tell them. It's something that needs to be done, and you have to have it finished. And I'm trying to figure out, I can't change school, but I can change the way he looks at it and deals with it and sees it. But do you have more tips on that, how I can make him perceive school more as play, even though it's not the way he plays? You know what I'm saying?
So 2 things. You can't turn something that is into something that it isn't.
Okay.
Right? So if they are judgmental and regimented and rigid and unyielding and unbending and linear, you cannot change that.
True.
What you can do is give them tools without saying that that's what you're doing. But one of the things that I do with kids is in those kinds of situations, are you smarter than the teachers? Do you move faster than they do? Do you get things that your teachers don't do? Like all those questions for them to get that they have totally different points of view, that they are bigger than their teachers, they're bigger than all those limitations. And then what I say is, or what I ask them is, would you be willing to give your teacher what your teacher needs to hear in order to back off and not make your life so miserable without becoming who she wants you to be? Like, don't ever not be who you are, but would you be willing just to pretend to be who she wants you to be so she gives you a good grade and so she likes you? Right?
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, the kids that we have in the Access Possibilities School are kids like that and more who come in and they're, I mean, some of them are they're like damaged, right? There was one guy that spent the first, I don't know how many days, maybe even weeks, like 2 weeks, like hiding. I mean, the screen was on, but he wouldn't show his face, right? And now he's like a leader. He's like,
Right, yeah.
knows all the new kids what all the ropes are and how to get around and not like that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
the effect of,
Yeah, I hear you, and I'm trying to, or actually I'm doing stuff with my kids, and what I hear them say the whole time, you know, saying like, okay, you don't just ask a question on the kid and they'll know the answer. I hear the opposite the whole time. Everything they answer is, I don't know, and I say, well, what if you would know? What would be your answer then? I don't know. They keep saying, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? If I use those questions, they keep saying, I don't know.
so are they open to what you have to offer?
For some reason, sometimes they are. A lot of times they're not, because they think I'm goofy. And well, especially my daughter, she's 11. She's like, I don't want to have a goofy mom. Can you be normal, please?
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't. Well, my 8-year-old, not so much. I'll ask him to do stuff. I say, well, what if we could try this? And then he will try. Like yesterday, I asked him, I think maybe the Earth wants the contribution of you, because his nose was all full and he was all stuck. And he would do it. So slowly but surely, I guess he kind of is more aware of when I ask the question that it works or something.
So would you be willing to let your kids choose whatever they choose without making either yourself or them wrong for not choosing what you see they could choose and what they're refusing to choose?
Yeah, okay.
Right? Yikes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the only one. You just trying to create all that. Right, wrong, good, right, online, shorts, boys, and the minute you start functioning from really having no point of view about what their choice is the minute that everything changes.
True.
Like the teachers can talk about like times where that's been true for them. I can talk about times where that's been true for me as a therapist, where when you have a point of view, that's the only thing the kids can see, and they'll push it. They'll push back. And when you stop having a point of view, it leads. So here they are, and here's whatever it is. If you have a point of view, they never get farther than that. They just go, right? Yeah. But if you have no point of view, then they get to work through whatever it is that they're working through, and it's theirs. They get the awareness of whatever that was, and they get to create something completely different if they choose to or not. But as long as we're in here going, oh, this is the better way to do it, and what if, and many of us are really good at using the access tools, not as necessarily as weapons, but as tools of like force. And guess what? Kids know that. They're like, not flying. That's not going to work with me. Right? Yeah.
No,
so
not at all.
It's not wrong for any of this stuff and for trying it all out where you just try to create it. And just simply acknowledge the brilliance of you and have no point of view about it. Have no point of view about them and see what happens. See what they create.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I see that going up and down, because I do acknowledge when I don't have a point of view about it. I'm thinking, oh, I'm just giving you something, and whatever you want to do with it, that's fine. And some days I'm like, yeah, but do it. I mean, I know it's going to work.
Right, and they're going to. So how does that work when you go, do it? They go, right? Exactly. So the energy of play and the energy of judgment.
Yeah.
There is no judgment in real play and true play.
No, true.
Right?
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
And Ricky Williams is one of my favorite people on the planet. And in the United States, he was a big deal football player. I don't know, like 5-10 years ago. And he's an access consciousness facilitator. And he broke records in football in college, and he won the highest trophy that you can get in the United States as a college football player. And then he broke 2 records 2 years in a row for the position that he played in professional sports. And he was magic. He was the magic of play on the field. That's actually how he did it. And he said, I swear, I don't know how I did it, but he said, I would have the ball. He was a running back. He said, I would have the ball, and I knew I had to get here, and there was a big pile of people keeping me from getting there, and I would get there. And he said, I would watch the videos, and I still couldn't see actually how I did it. That's the magic of play. Play is the magic of creation. And it's the magic of creation of everything beyond this reality. And for him to say, I couldn't even see it on the video, is creating beyond the confines of this reality, because it can't be real if you can't see it, right?
Yeah.
Kids don't function like that until it gets smacked out of them. They don't function from the confines of this reality until they have to, whether it's in kindergarten and they have to learn math 2 hours a day, thank you very much, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So everything that doesn't allow you to be that magic in your worlds and in your life, that doesn't allow you to play, to create, to have that lightness, the magic of functioning beyond what you can see, what you've been told, what your culture says, what your principal says, what your spouse says, what your parents have told you. We just try to create it.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pon, pock, all night, choice, closing eyes. And everywhere you think, oh my God, that's going to be a lot of hard work. We just try to create that.
Yes.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good, bad, pon, pock, all night, choice.
Oh, what about stuff that are just not fun to do? Like, I don't know, administration, or sometimes getting out the dishes, and I find myself forcing to have fun with it or something.
So hire somebody to do it. Free up, making more money, right? Like, so everywhere you're turning this into hard work and coming up with all the reasons and justifications for why you can't do it and why it's not going to work, because that's actually what you'll create. We're just trying to create it. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Unpack all night, choice boys. You guys, you know how to do something different? How do you do that? What's key besides interesting point of view? What's another access tool that you can use? Begins with A, ask.
Ask a question.
Yeah.
Ask for something different.
Ask a question. Everywhere.
Possible.
Come up with a statement about this is the way it is. When I was growing up, it was this is how the hog ate the cabbage, right? So like everywhere you come up with a flat statement about the way things are, what if you can just turn it into a question, acknowledge it? It's like, oh, is that actually mine? And turn it into a question. What would it take for this to change? What if this weren't a problem? What clarity can I have with this?
We're just fun, yeah.
No, it's a judgment. So is your definition of fun a judgment? It has to be fun, otherwise I can't do it. Otherwise I'm a failure. If accounting isn't fun, I'm a failure. Frickin' accounting sucks. God, hire somebody to do it. Right?
Well, right now, yeah, that's what everybody tells me, you know, especially in Access. Well, right now, I don't have the money to hire anybody to do anything.
Right? So wrapping it up.
How can that change?
Yeah.
How much magic can I create there?
I wonder.
Yeah, I wonder.
So unfortunately, guys, it's time to wrap it up. So Anne, if you could let us know how people can get a hold of you, where they can find you, where you're going to be in the world.
So you can get a hold of me through the school, Anne, A-N-N-E, Maxwell, M-A-X-W-E-L-L. at accesspossibilities, plural, school.com. That's a great way to get a hold of me. And I'm going to South Africa on Thursday for 10 days, and then I'm going to Japan to do some kids classes at the end of I think the end of May, and like lots of places. So you can find my classes on the Access website, www.accessconsciousness.com. Books are everywhere, but the school really actually is the best way to get a hold of me right now. And if you guys have any questions, please email me. Like a lot of you came on and didn't ask anything. If you have any questions, send me an email at Ann Maxwell at accesspossibilitieschool.com.
I put it in the chat so people can.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And also, if you want to know, Trina has a question.
Yay, Trina!
I was just gonna say, what would it take for my life for me to play like you and even more?
Hey, good
Double
question.
dog dare you, girlie.
Travel the world,
Let's go.
playing. Yes. Okay. That's all.
Right? Exactly. Exactly.
And if you want to know more about the school and what we do, and about the teachers, about Anne, and all of that stuff, she's got a great money class running right now through the school. The last one is on Wednesday. You can still sign up. You can register and see all the past classes, so you wouldn't miss out on anything.
I don't have to carry these guys around with me. They're like great.
So we have adult classes as well as kids classes, extracurricular as well as full enrollment or partial enrollment. There's so many ways you can be involved. So check it out. And we also have a newsletter that comes out. You can also sign up for that on the Access Possibilities School website. Anne is very much a part of the newsletter, as you heard. And we're all writing articles for it. And it's great with a teacher or parent or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, and the radio show. Tell them about the radio show.
The radio show, which is on right now, and unfortunately, we couldn't be on it because we were on here. So Sylvia, one of the other teachers, and Christine, teacher and our principal, they're on the radio show right now. It's half an hour every Monday at 12:30 PST, and I will put the link in the chat too, so that you have that. Just give me a minute, talk amongst yourselves, or Anne, you talk.
Radio. You can find information about the Access Possibilities School on Facebook as well. We have a page on Facebook. Click like, you'll get information about upcoming classes and things that way, as an alternative or in addition to the newsletter, which has great articles and information from the teachers and the staff that you can use with your kids. And I also just want to say that we're so grateful for you guys showing up and helping us get the word out there about all of the programs that what we're creating, and for being the invitation for more play in the world, because how does it get better than that?
Right.
So are there any movements towards having a Next Possibilities School or something something in that way in different countries?
So it's online, and we actually, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Is there something like going on in Holland yet?
We actually have 2 kids from Estonia who are in our school. So they just do school towards the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
But that would mean that they have to know English, right?
correct.
Yeah. No, I mean,
We need a minimum of 100 kids per country, per language.
Oh, okay.
Minimum.
Minimum of 100 kids to have
Yeah.
an English language.
Yeah.
And teachers also.
Yeah, because then we would, I mean, yeah. So, and it may be even more than 100. It would depend on what the age range was in that.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah. But the kids from Estonia are just, they're lovely. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you
so
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Grateful. Thank you.
And have fun. Like,
Thank
really.
you.
Fabulous evening, morning, afternoon.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Go play.
Great.